Welcome to the Untethered Airway Podcast, where airway health meets real-life impact. I'm Dr. Meggie Graham.
I'm Dr. Liz Turner.
And we're the moms and airway-focused dentists who founded the Untethered Airway Health Center. On this podcast, we're pulling back the curtain on the root causes of breathing and sleep challenges,
helping families and fellow providers understand how airway-focused care can change lives.
Because it's not just about teeth, it's about total body health.
Let's dive in.
Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Dr. Meggie Graham, and today's episode is for the dentist. Yes, you, the dentist, trying to bring airway into your practice. Maybe you're fired up after a course, or you're on a deep dive into a rabbit hole of nasal breathing and craniofacial growth. Maybe you've got a ton of CT scans that you really want to review and you're trying to figure out what to even do with them. I promise you I've been there, really. This episode is going to be less polished, a little bit more personal, more of a heart-to-heart, and I'm gonna let you in on all of my failures and things that I wish I would have done differently. Because if you're anything like me, when I started down this road, you're excited and you're motivated and you're totally convinced that you found something that changes everything about how you're treating patients. And honestly, you have. But the way you bring it to your practice, that's the part that really doesn't get talked about enough. Or if it was talked about, I certainly didn't listen. When I first learned about airway and the connection to all the systems and dental health, it was like putting on glasses for the first time. You know that feeling when everything just suddenly comes into focus and it's like, oh my gosh, that makes sense. I started seeing it everywhere. Restricted growth, tired patients, dark circles under eyes, erosion, tongue ties, mouth breathing. I saw it everywhere, across every age group, every patient type. I saw it in the public, in my family. I had this almost physical urge to jump in and do something. And here's where one of my so-called superpowers came back to bite me. I am somebody who gets shit done. I get stuff done fast. Give me a checklist and a goal. Even without the checklist, I'm ready to go. I'll build the process. I'll schedule the meetings. I'll organize the consults. I will make it happen fast. What is the plan? All right, let's go. But in this case, that drive didn't help me, and it was my downfall. I went into full implementation mode immediately. I tried to implement protocols and equipment and language and referrals without any sort of organization, any sort of consideration for a timeline. I was just ready to help. And I was rebuilding my whole practice in real time because I thought if I didn't start helping people right now, I was failing them. They were gonna die. I was gonna fall apart. And that came from a really good place. I cared deeply. But the truth that I learned the hard way is just because you see it doesn't mean that they do. And even if they do, they might not care. I'd look at a CT scan and feel this intense sense of urgency. If I didn't intervene right away, I was doing a disservice. I would sit with parents and go from tongue posture to nasal resistance to maxillary insufficiency in one breath at like 2.0 speed. I'm already a fast talker, and with my passion, I was talking even faster. And I really did mean well, but I was overwhelming. I bulldozed right past the connection. I did not meet people where they were. I met them where I was, deep into CE courses, deep into research papers and case studies. And you know what happened? Patients got confused. Parents felt judged. Some of them left the practice. And my team, they were watching this all unfold and felt like they couldn't do anything to help. The rug had been pulled out from underneath them and they felt helpless. And I lost some of them too. The way I was talking and the things that I was prioritizing, it didn't line up with how they were trained. And I didn't slow down long enough to explain the why behind the changes, the why behind my excitement, and the why behind my drive to introduce it to our practice. I spoke way too much, I listened way too little, and it cost me dearly. There's one patient I still think about all the time. He was really sick, mom didn't know it, but this was just this classic airway patient. The little boy was 7 years old, he was mouth breathing, he just had his mouth gaping open, he had many caries, he had deep circles under his eyes, he had a narrow vaulted palate. I saw every single red flag and I was excited and anxious to help him. I thought I was being helpful and I just bombarded mom. I explained everything. Anatomy, my concerns, the risk, what it could mean in the long term, what they should do next. I just literally poured it out on her. She nodded politely and then she never came back. And that one hurts a lot because I really do care and I know that I have the tools that I could have helped him, and I think I slammed that door and it's a patient that won't get help. I gave her a protocol and really what she needed was empathy. I gave her a plan and she really just needed somebody to ask her What are you noticing at home? Have you ever noticed this? Interesting, I noticed this. Has anyone talked to you about sleep before? Little questions, these tiny little openings to create curiosity. Because here's the truth, connection is the first part of a treatment plan. Not the diagnostics, not the imaging, not the data you collect, it's the connection. And if you skip that part, if you rush it, you risk losing the very people you're trying to help, and you get to help nobody at all. That was a big shift for me, and not just how I spoke to patients, it was how I thought about being a dentist, which is pretty profound, but it was that jarring because honestly, I got so deep into airway, I almost stopped doing dentistry altogether. I referred everything out, I co-treated, I networked, I built partnerships with ENTs and SLPs and myofunctional therapists, and I tried to convince the orthodontists that all their patients needed to come see me for tongue tie releases. It was really great, and it was actually really rewarding, and it was fun, but I stopped doing dentistry. I stopped producing. Like I actually stopped working. And the financial health of my practice, it tanked. I remember my accountant calling me and like expressing true concern. Is everything okay? What is going on with your numbers? And it turns out being passionate alone does not pay the bills. I forgot. Airway aware dentistry is still just dentistry. Jeff Rouse always says, just do dentistry. He's my biggest mentor, and also that his voice is in my mind. You have to do the dentistry, the fillings, the hygiene checks, the periodic exams, the aligners if you do them in your office. It all still really matters, but when you start to do it through an airway lens, it matters even more because you have influence to make things better. I was so busy learning and fixing and sharing and referring that I forgot to do the work. I'd always been great at doing it, and I didn't know how to implement it into my new vision. Not only was I overwhelming the patients, I was overwhelming myself because I didn't know how to fit restorative work into my new big picture plan, so I just kind of stopped. That classic paralysis by analysis. With the clarity of hindsight, I will tell you that you don't have to abandon what you know and already do well. In fact, don't. Please don't. You just have to evolve how you see it. So if you're in that early stage right now where you're juggling a million things and no one seems to get it, please hear me when I say you're not doing it wrong. You're just doing it fast. And if you're like me, probably a little too fast. That urgency you're feeling, that excitement and that passion, it's so important and it's so real, but your patients haven't walked this path yet. Your team hasn't taken the courses. They don't see what you see. So start small. Start with one patient. Start over with one patient. Start with a team member. Get their support and buy-in. Ask one better question. Share one story. Give one small breadcrumb, but not the whole loaf. Just enough to make them curious. Get comfortable with a pause and some silence, because in that space, that's when they might ask the next question. What can I do about it? That's when the shift begins, and that's when you get to actually make major changes. When you slow down enough to let them catch up, they become your biggest advocates, your best referral sources. I've had patients come back years later and say, I'm ready now. I've had patients send in their extended family with this belief that I can help them in profound ways. And I wasn't less right a few years ago. They just weren't ready yet, and that's okay. Sometimes I wasn't ready either. I really had to find balance again. I had to reconnect with the restorative side of dentistry that I loved. I had to remind myself that just doing the dentistry was not only okay, but really important. I had to rebuild what had taken a hit while I was off in my la airway land. And honestly, I had to rebuild trust with my team members and with my patients who were left confused by the old version of me. It took time for some of them to let their guard down and realize that I was still on their team, I was still their advocate, and not just evangelizing something that was important to me. So if you're feeling like it's too much, too soon, breathe. You're doing important work, but you don't have to do it all overnight. You can't do it overnight. Be patient, be consistent, be curious, keep showing up, keep asking better questions, keep doing better, and keep learning how to make it land. And when it does land, and when it doesn't land, give yourself some grace. You can't save everybody, and you're not just building a different kind of practice. You're building a different kind of relationship with everyone around you, your patients, your team, and even with yourself. And I know that sounds really corny, but it's true. I still mess up a lot. I still overtalk, and I talk too fast. I still launch into solutions sometimes before checking in on what someone actually came in for. But more often now, I start with questions. I start with connection. I ask what brought them in? What are they noticing? What have they been told in the past? What are their goals? And then I often ask, how can I help you? And then I listen, because when they get it, when they connect the dots, It's one of the most powerful things I've ever seen in dentistry. It's not just rewarding, it's really humbling. I cannot believe people put trust in me and allow me to serve them and help them be healthier. Like, how cool is that? I just have so much love for this profession and just can't believe that we get to do it in so many different ways. It keeps me going. So wherever you are on your journey, just beginning, halfway in, feeling stuck or fired up, know this, you're not alone. You can start over. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have it all figured out. What you know today is only part of the story. You're going to keep learning. You just need to keep showing up and remember to give yourself grace and be slow. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being on this journey with me. Feel free to reach out and connect. Have a great day. Thanks for tuning in to the Untethered Airway Podcast.
If today's episode helped you see things differently,
please share it with someone who would benefit from hearing this. And don't forget to subscribe.
Want to learn more about airway health or connect with our team?
Please visit our website, untetheredairwayhealthcenter.com, or follow us on Instagram @Untethered Airway.
Until next time, bye.